Hello. Welcome to Marshmallow Reads. I'm Marcy, and this is going to be a rant review. So initially, when I was planning out my monthly videos, I knew I wanted to devote a whole video to The Good Neighbor by A.J. Banner. I did not know that this was not going to be the only bad thriller I read this month. So this has turned into a double feature. The first is The Good Neighbor by A.J. Banner, and then Verity by Colleen Hoover. They are both bad, but for different reasons. Let's just start with the first one. So I just want to start off saying The Good Neighbor is trash. Do not waste your time on it. Do not read it. Just don't. I gave it a 1 out of 5 stars. It's a 0 really. Like it's barely a book. There's a newlywed couple who moves to a sleepy town, and there's a house fire that kills a couple people, and they gotta figure out who did it and why. The premise itself is not bad. Like, it could have been interesting. I'm gonna start off with my smaller concerns. The writing itself is pretty poor. Like, I'm not a writer. I do not claim to know how to write a good book or just like a coherent book, but I have read plenty of good examples to know what's bad. One example is I found a lot of cliche lines like, "You watch too many scary movies," in response to someone having like a concern about this whole situation, and just like stuff like that happened way too close together. Like, it was just like cliche after cliche after cliche, and then it seems to only have 2 things to communicate to you. So there's info dumps, where it's just like explanation of the plot just in a massive block of text that's basically telling you what you should know or should be feeling, that kind of stuff. Then on the other side, there is the dialogue. Man, this was just so dry and boring and painful to read, like, and then everything else kind of feels like it's missing. It almost feels like you're reading the highlights of this story, or like the main outline bullet points, rather than a fully fleshed out novel. And it was sometimes jarring to jump from scene to scene because there wasn't any like connective tissue or like transition, where you kind of felt jostled around, like, wait, I thought we were still in the house. Why are we in this place now? And I felt like there was a really big disconnect in what the author was describing the characters as feeling versus how I actually felt reading it. One example of this was the main character, Sarah, saying, "Numbness spread inward from my fingertips." Like when she was feeling like really scared about something or like really fearful. It felt like there wasn't enough description outside of that to really solidify that in my own feelings. It just felt like the author was telling me how I should be feeling rather than putting in the work to make me feel that way. And then when it gets to the resolution of this plot, it was so quick and so lame. Like, there was no payoff. So even though it wasn't like that long of a book, it really felt like I had wasted my time. And that's just my small complaints. My biggest complaint is how the author treated their Hispanic characters. Going to this book, I didn't have any idea about what the book was about really, besides the basic synopsis, nor did I know anything about the author. So when I saw that one of the side characters was named Jesse Ramirez, I got a little excited. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe I'll get some representation in here. And then the author immediately describes her as having a shitty boyfriend with a lowrider and accuses her of stealing. At this point, I was really hoping that it was just a way to characterize Monique. Brief spoilers, I guess. You know what? No, actually, we're gonna get into spoilers for this. It's fine. I would go ahead and keep watching because this book is not at all worth your time. So Monique is one of the people who dies in the fire. Her house gets burnt down. Her and her husband end up dying. And before this happens, She is talking to the main character, Sarah, and talking about how Jesse house sits for them when they go on vacation and stuff. Monique has noticed that some things, including a gold pen that is usually kept by the phone for writing down messages, have gone missing, and accuses Jesse of taking them, because I guess she had both the opportunity and the motive to do it. Okay. When I was reading this, I was getting some red flags. Like, okay, maybe Monique doesn't trust most people. Maybe it's because Jesse is a teenager. Maybe she's just kind of racist. Because this description, this characterization of, oh, a Hispanic teen in someone else's house, of course she's going to take something. Yeah, they're thieves. I was really hoping that this problematic description of Jesse was due to Monique's implicit biases rather than the author's, but yeah, I don't think it turned out that way. After the fire, of course, when the neighbors start talking, who I believe are mostly, if not all, white, except for Jessie and her family, when they get talking, they immediately think that it was Jessie and her boyfriend who started the fire. Why? I don't know, maybe they just wanted to steal more things. And in all this, there is not really any reason given for why Jessie would be accused of thieving or anything. It's just like assumed, yeah, it's probably her. Why would they assume that other than because she's Hispanic? I don't know. The book isn't telling me any other option. Like, at this point, maybe they're trying to pin it on the shitty boyfriend. Maybe, I don't know, because again, they haven't really given me any reason to suspect the boyfriend other than he drives a lowrider. Ooh, I don't know, maybe that means he's a gangbanger. So later in the story, Sarah, the main character, is talking to Jessie and notices that Jessie has a lipstick tube with the initials MK on it. And immediately she thinks, oh my god, that's Monique's lipstick. Why would she have it? And when I read it, I was still hoping that the author wasn't being racist, and was like, oh, MK, maybe this is just a whole like red herring and it's part of the end twist, and it actually stands for Michael Kors, and the whole twist would be, oh ho, you thought Jessie was the one behind it, didn't you? Ha ha ha. No, you just have racial biases that you need to work on. But no, turns out that actually was Monique's lipstick. And not only that, Jessie admits to putting on Monique's perfume and lingerie while she was house sitting for fun. And she goes back to show her room has just like a box of stuff that she's stolen. I'm assuming all from Monique, maybe from other people. I don't know, but I was so disappointed and mad to realize that this is just how the author wants to portray one of the only Hispanic characters in their thriller book. So yeah, this book made me mad, and it was boring and a waste of time, and I want to burn it, but I own the digital copy, so I can't even do that. So I just deleted it, and hopefully after this, I never have to think about it again. All right, on to Verity by Colleen Hoover. A somewhat unknown author has been hired to finish the last few books in this really popular series. The public doesn't know about this, but the original author of the series is in like kind of a coma, but mostly they can't really talk or do anything. They can move a little bit, but not really. And she has to do what she can with the author's notes and existing books to finish off the series. And in part of that, she goes to visit the author's home where she is currently living with her husband and her son. Getting there, she realizes, one, the husband's real hot, and two, they also had 2 twin daughters, but in 2 different unfortunate accidents and tragedies, they both died. I do also want to get into spoilers on this one. Okay. I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars, almost a 1. So it's depending on how you like certain topics in you're reading, you might not want to do this one at all, and it'd be closer to a 1 out of 5 for you. I don't know. I don't know if it's worth reading this one. Maybe not. So I would encourage you, if you're on the fence at all, just continue watching through the spoilers. Once the new author, Lowen, gets to the author's house, the OG author's house, she is looking through her office and trying to find notes of a possible outline. And instead, she finds a manuscript for the original author's autobiography. It has not been seen by anyone else, supposedly, and we find out very soon why that may be. This is where we get a lot of repetitive descriptions of sex between the original author Verity and her husband. I don't know. I don't remember his name. Doesn't matter. So at the beginning of this, it's just kind of weird, like, oh wow, she was really horny, and that's all we get from the manuscript while we're at the beginning. And creepy things start happening, like, oh my god, is she actually staring at me even though she can't really like consciously look at anything? And the new author, Lowen, is getting kind of freaked out. But also, the husband's hot, so she's also getting turned on and is feeling guilty about that because, oh no, she's lusting after a incapacitated woman's husband. But slowly, we are learning that maybe this Verity is more than just horny. She might have been murderous. One thing I didn't note before, the original author Verity, her really popular series, has a slightly unique thing where instead of writing through the protagonist's perspective, it's all written through the antagonist's perspective. And then when Lowen is reading through her manuscript, she sees a similar style of writing. The way Verity describes her feelings towards her children is villainous. Like, she was very horny for her husband and she wanted to keep him, so she agreed to have children with him, and she accidentally got pregnant on their engagement day, and she hates that it took away the specialness from her. She's very self-centered, very all about her. She doesn't want her body changing because of the children. She hates that. So even though Verity wants to please her husband and he wants kids, she absolutely hates being pregnant. She hates the idea of children. She hates that the husband, loves the children more than her. And this hate seemingly builds up and up and up. And after the girls are born, she hates dealing with them. She'll like turn off the baby monitor while he's away and just like sleeps all day and lets him take care of them and pretends that she's been taking care of them all day, and on and on and on. And then when they grow up, she also, for whatever reason, so one of the twins is autistic. She just, doesn't have as many, she's not as expressive as her other sister, doesn't like laugh as much. She's fine. She's just a kid. But Verity hates her. She thinks that she is going to kill the good twin. And when the first tragedy strikes, it kills the neurotypical daughter, and Verity believes that the autistic daughter killed her. And then after that, 6 months later, she decides to accidentally drown the other twin as revenge for killing the first twin. All of this is described in her manuscript. Like, she gives details, she gives background feelings as why she did this and how she covered it up and how she convinced the youngest boy to like, hold your breath, oh no, we're gonna drown. And then the last little bit of the manuscript says, if my husband were to find this and if he doesn't agree with me and doesn't want to stay with me, then I'll just drive into a tree. And wouldn't you know it, she did actually drive into a tree, and that's how she got into her current situation. And we later learn that the husband did find it, and he was going to either try to murder her or turn her into the police. And she was not having that, so into the tree she goes. And then we get to like real time with Lowen and the husband. They find out that, oh no, Verity has been faking this whole time. She's been able to move and talk and everything. And she like tries to defend herself and be like, wait, you don't understand. And before she gets a chance to explain, they kill her. They strangle her because, you know, I mean, to be fair, reading this manuscript, the husband and Lowen did fully believe that she murdered at least one of the girls. So I get that. But then, much, you know, at the epilogue stage, we find out that this manuscript wasn't actually an autobiography. No, it was a writing exercise. Duh. You know, she didn't have a lot of practice writing in the voice of an antagonist for her books, so she tried doing this as a way to practice writing villainous thoughts and taking her everyday feelings and twisting them around and writing the complete opposite that she was feeling. Maybe she should have written some sort of disclaimer at the beginning to say, hey, don't worry about what's coming over here. This is just a writing exercise. Because she printed this off and put it in her office, and like immediately after she finished it, her husband found it on her computer, and like, of course, she was gonna think that she was actually evil. It was all just so absurd, just like everything that happened like back to back, like what, how, like it was so ridiculous. And by the end of it, I was just like yelling as I was reading this thing. And if it wasn't so absurd and stupid and ridiculous, I would probably give this a 1 because of the gratuitous descriptions of the child abuse. Like, that was not fun to read, but because it was so dumb, I didn't believe it. I wasn't sucked into the story, so it didn't really affect me that way. Instead of feeling like anxious and horrified, I was just kind of laughing the whole time. Not really what you want in a suspense thriller. Yeah, so I did fly through this. It was enjoyable in a so bad that it's good kind of way. Yeah, in the end, there was no villain. It was just a series of unfortunate events, and isn't that sad? Like, yeah, I guess. What? Okay. Yeah, I'm bummed that I struck out twice on thrillers this month. And that is it for this week. I will see you all in the next one. If you liked this one, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this. And with that, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!